Now, Florida, OMG. Hello, this is Carrie O'Donnell from Tarot Soul Writer. And if you would like a personal reading with me, please go to my website, tarotsoulwriter.com, press book a session, and you will see all the different types of readings that I offer. I'd be happy to read for you. Today's video, I am going to pose the question, red or blue? Which states are going to turn red? Which states are going to turn blue? Now, I've been working on this all week. I have used a combination of cards using a yes-no spread, plus my pendulum, and in some cases, my dowsing rods. Now, there are some states that were very clear. I knew exactly which way, based on the answers I was getting, they were going to go, whether red or blue. And then there were some states that I was like, what? So I asked for more information. I would do a soul writing session on those states to see what was going on. Why was I getting the answer that I was? And in some cases, I almost had to wait a little bit of time before I got a clear answer. And then there were the states that really surprised me. Like, I didn't think they were swing states, or I didn't feel like in my mind they were going to go a certain color, and I was getting something a little different. So I am going to highlight those states and we'll see what's up. But first, let's start from the beginning. I started with Maine and I worked my way down, and I'm going to leave some of the sticky states for last. Let's just start with the states that were easy. Maine, blue. New Hampshire, blue. Vermont, blue. Massachusetts, blue. Rhode Island, blue. Connecticut, blue. New York, blue. New Jersey, blue. Delaware, blue. Maryland, blue. Washington, D.C., blue. Virginia, blue. North Carolina, blue. South Carolina, red. West Virginia, red. Ohio, red. Alabama, red. Tennessee, red. Mississippi, red. Louisiana, red. Missouri, red. Iowa, red. Illinois, blue. Michigan, blue. Minnesota, blue. Montana, red. South Dakota, red. North Dakota, red. Nebraska. Nebraska has split votes like Maine, but I got Nebraska leaning more red. So I feel like at least 2 of their 3 districts are going to go red. Oklahoma, red. Kansas, blue. New Mexico, blue. Colorado, blue. Wyoming, red. Idaho, red. Utah, red. Nevada, blue. California, blue. Oregon, blue. Washington State, blue. Alaska, red. Hawaii, blue. And now let's look at the states that were coming up on the edge or had some other interesting information. We're going to start with Texas. When I first went into Texas, I'll be honest, I was getting a lot of blue energy, and it was very surprising to me. But I wasn't feeling like Texas was going to actually turn blue. I felt like there was a lot of blue energy. You know, I think maybe what they're saying to me is maybe Texas really is blue right now. But I got the electoral votes going to Donald Trump. I did not get those votes going to Kamala Harris. So I have to call Texas red. But I did do a soul writing session on Texas, and I wrote things like the Trump of women, aggressive movement of women moving toward their goal, their destination, aggressive self-interest. We will control our lives. We stand aggressively for women's rights. And that made me think of when I did the 2024 predictions, and it wasn't in the November or election video. It was one previous, but I cut that picture of the woman, a really beautiful young woman in shorts and like a cowboy hat, and she's smoking a cigarette and she throws it on some gasoline, and the gasoline, like the cartoons, it kind of like the fire goes to, I guess, TNT, and she just leaves with an explosion, but she's just walking away like, there you go, I'm going to burn it all down. It was very casual, very, all right, I'm just going to do this now. I'm wondering if what I was seeing was a sense that women were really going to turn out in Texas, probably in a very surprising way. But I also heard Spirit say their husbands vote too. Male and female unite. I will have freedom to travel, they said. Anger, wrath, we will prevail. So there is something about, I think, this interstate travel issue and trying to keep women from traveling out of state in order to access healthcare. I feel like that was a huge motivating factor for a lot of women and a lot of men, because they said, and their husbands too. They said, women vote in secret behind the veil. We didn't see this coming. Church ladies. And they showed me Dana Carvey. If you remember, was that the 90s when he did the character Church Lady on SNL? And they showed me like weird face he used to make. The idea being these women who are in the churches and they're prim and proper, and maybe on the outside, everyone thinks that they're doing certain things, but it was behind the veil. They were voting in secret. And I wrote, they remember who they are. Republicans are at a loss of words. We lowered our guard. We thought this one was in the bag. Delay, delay. We have to think things out. And then I got, they argue for argument's sake. Words and actions have consequences. They will lie, be cruel, betray. This will be a battle. And then I got the Tower card. So at first I'm thinking maybe Texas is going to turn blue, but I think that idea of, whoa, like we didn't see it coming, delay, delay. I think this is the people in power trying to stop the basically. The Tower card, I wrote breakthroughs and breakdowns. There is aggression, explosions, violence, upheaval. This is a crisis. You have received a humiliating blow. Public censor, keeping people limited by force. This will be a test of your faith. Lawsuits, judgment, someone is going to jail. So much stress. Emotions are out of hand. Turn down the heat. We are out of sync. The adjustments just didn't come out right. Unsettled. America trumps Texas. America trumps Texas. The Lone Star State is blue. You are released from imprisonment. You are free. The internet goes wild. Hope, faith restored. Change is available for us all. A new beginning. Now, the ending, like I really thought that meant Texas was going blue. But every time I did a reading on it, because I felt like it was my yes, no spread was back and forth, back and forth. It was like right on the edge. I'm kind of feeling, if I had to put the story together, that the amount of women going out there or voting for Kamala Harris is way more than they thought. I think the people who are trying to control everything are going to be shocked. I think they're going to try to delay. I think that there is going to be maybe some domestic unrest around the election, specifically in this state and local pockets, as they try to clamp down the vote. That's kind of what I'm getting. The women, the hands are tied. This is a test of your faith. So there's going to be something here to try to limit what votes go through, I guess is the way I can interpret that. And then when they said America trumps Texas, I kind of feel like that was a play on words, like he does get the votes. But then they said the Lone Star State is blue. So I feel like the actual real vote might be blue. And I do get a sense that there's something about this election that's going to liberate Texas, that's going to help Texas get back into balance between, I guess, more liberal social views along with some of the old time Texas conservative values, maybe getting back to rationality. And they did say a new beginning. So I want to be hopeful about Texas. This election is cracking open Texas in some way, in a good way, where truth is coming to the surface. But I'm going to call Texas red, just because with all the unrest, and I feel like shenanigans that might happen around the votes, I do feel the electoral votes in the end are going to go to Donald Trump. Florida. Now, Florida, OMG. I got this right on the edge with the yes-no spread. So I feel like it could go either way again. But every time I was like, okay, like we have to call it using the dowsing rods or using my pendulum, it came out blue. I swear it was coming up blue. This one, even though it's on the edge, I feel like might actually go to Kamala Harris. And I feel like Florida is going to be a game changer for this election. So fingers crossed. I did a soul writing session to get more information. And what I got was, with my vote, I seek to have control over my life once again. We need to get things back in control. Aggressive stance on abortion and IVF. Warriors for the cause. Move to victory. So again, women's issues are really getting people out to vote. If things don't change, I will need to move. We are stressed. The earth is out of balance. Excessive weather. Competing interests, too much water. How do I heat or cool my home? Energy issues. So I also feel the second huge issue is going to be the extreme weather in Florida over the last 5 to 10 years. As hurricanes have become stronger, we have people who have lost property in mass amounts. They're not being insured, and there are they kept saying energy issues. So there might be some issues with energy as far as heating or cooling their homes. And there's just competing interests. There's like a sense of what the people want and maybe what big government wants, or what the government wants, or corporate America wants. It was too much. We are stressed, they said. People are voting in their interest, and a lot of it has to do with huge losses related to extreme weather. Then I wrote, we need a clear head. He is not well. And by he, I almost felt like it was DeSantis, not Trump. I think it was almost like I'm voting against Trump and I'm really voting against DeSantis. It was very interesting. Mobilizing quickly, progress, everything comes together. Phone, internet. He is a guilty man, traitor. This time, I feel like they were talking about Donald Trump for entertainment purposes only, but that's what I heard. And I'm getting a lot of mobilizing on the ground to get people to the polls, to get people voting. We need to surrender to an opposing point of view. Some things are more important than money. We sacrifice the lesser thing for the greater thing. We will not be victims of our circumstances. We don't agree. A divorce within the party. Abuse, sexual abuse. This is worst case scenario. I feel betrayed. Now, Here, I was really feeling that I was listening to the voice of Republicans in Florida, a split in the party. There are people who are like, we're going to sacrifice the lesser for the greater. So in other words, they're going to put country over party. That's the sense that I was getting. They were like, we don't agree. We don't agree with the direction that the party has gone. And then something of abuse or sexual abuse. So that could have been some of the cases in which Donald Trump was found liable. And I feel like these are some of the issues that are coming up that some Republicans just can't stomach. And they do feel betrayed. And then I get them commenting on Joe Biden. He gave us compassion. He was a source of comfort. He satisfied our needs. Wise counsel. He did show he cared. I'm out of work. I need relief. Corruption, dark money. Someone is asking me to do something dishonest. A planned sabotage. So let's take the first part. I think there are a lot of people, including Republicans, who felt like Biden really cared about them when they needed him the most. And I believe this is in reference to some of the extreme weather that they experienced. And then the corruption and the dark money, people asking you to do something dishonest. I feel like this might have something to do with a manipulation that may be happening in Florida. But then Spirit says, sometimes things just come together as if by magic, a change in the times, manifestation. We are liberated. We see the big picture. We are mending trauma. There is now a glimmer of hope for a better future. Baby steps. So I feel like Florida is taking its first steps into a blue world. They're going to put country above party. I think there are going to be a combination of people affected by weather and voting on that issue, plus the women who are mobilizing for their own lives. There is some sense that they're coming together, that they're manifesting this right now. So fingers crossed for Florida. But I've read on this at least 2 or 3 times, and I do see Florida turning blue. The next state that was a little on the edge for me was Georgia. I got Georgia leaning blue. In the soul rating session on Georgia, I got disobeying the rules, going against the government. We don't like outsiders telling us what to do. We choose our own standards over the powers that be. Confrontation with the establishment, rebellion, civil disobedience. We do things differently in Georgia. So this could be a couple of different things. First, I don't get the people in power in Georgia feeling like they want to follow the government's rules, possibly on votes or voter rights. They just want to do their own thing in their own way. It felt very 1960s civil rights like, when you had the people who wanted rights and then you had the established government that wanted to maintain some semblance of white order. And I'm going to use that term because I felt like there was definitely a division in race in this particular state. Like Texas, I feel like if there was any kind of civil disobedience or rebellion in any part of the union, it would be in Texas. And also I got it in Georgia. Then I got confusion over what is right and what is wrong, a breakdown with tradition, impossible standards. I can't meet your criteria, adhering to the letter of the law, loophole, betrayed. I think this is describing some sort of voter intimidation or voter suppression for entertainment purposes only. And it's something about reaching impossible standards for, I'm assuming, how to prove that I can vote. And confusion over what is right, what is wrong really encompasses everything Georgia has been involved with concerning the last election. So there's that. Then I got the final results or outcome is difficult to predict. Spreading information via the media. People are easily swayed and influenced. We have an argument. Opposites attract. Shared fortune. We see eye to eye. I feel like in the aftermath, the Georgia results are going to be contested. I feel like Things are going to be argued publicly via the internet. I think you're going to see a lot on social media and a lot of disinformation because it says people are easily swayed or influenced. And then I heard we have an agreement, opposites attract, there's a shared fortune, we see eye to eye. Like Florida, I get a sense that the Republican Party in Georgia is also split, that they're not in agreement. There is some sense that opposites attract, that there's a certain segment of the Republican Party or Republican voters who are siding with Democrats, who are going to vote Democratic. And there's some sense that we see eye to eye. We see the big picture, just like I had gotten with Florida. Then I got hide, protect, bury the truth. I don't care about you if you are not related to my mission. What can we salvage here? Vengeance. So, vengeance, I mean, that's a 45 thing. The idea of protecting the truth. We don't want to come out some of the shenanigans that we might have been involved with. And I don't care about you if you're not related to my mission. I think there's a certain segment of people in power who are only about protecting themselves. And they don't really care about the people in Georgia or the people in the United States. So there's that. Then I heard restrict, deny freedoms, keep them in their place, covering your ass, hiding your mistakes, a bad decision, desire for money, pyramid scheme, dishonesty, someone is going to jail, survival. So again, I kind of feel like once they know the votes are lost, that a segment of Republican voters have voted with the Democrats, that once we are going to go through whatever we have to go through after the election to examine all of the votes, there is a moment in which they know that they've lost. And that's like the covering your ass, right? There's a sense that we're in survival mode and we need to hide some sort of alleged pyramid scheme or money-making scheme that's been related to what was going on in Georgia. So a lot is going to be uncovered there. But the good news is I actually get at the end of the day right now that Georgia is going to turn blue, but they're right on the edge. So we need to pray for Georgians. We need to pray for Georgia that basically that the bad guys don't win. I mean, that's what we have to do. They are very much on the edge, but I'm still calling it for blue. Pennsylvania. I'm going to call Pennsylvania blue, but they are also right on the edge. In the yes-no spread, I got 4 yes, 4 no. But my pendulum and my dowsing rod said that it would go blue, that electoral votes would go to Kamala Harris. I wrote in the soul writing session, struggling, a divided state. We feel overwhelmed. People using power over others. I am timid and submissive. Passions get out of hand. I will persist. Secrets will be revealed. I both fear and adore this person's dominance and power. Tyranny. There will be obstacles, delays, setbacks. Glass ceiling. I was thinking that might be a reference to Kamala. Is she going to hit the glass ceiling? Is there only so far she can go in Pennsylvania? We are clinging to the last bits of power of what I perceive as mine. Overturned. Power to the people. Right. So at this point, I get the sense of the people who are tired of being submissive to people in their local governments that have power over them. Secrets will be revealed. So there may be some shenanigans in Pennsylvania that may also be uncovered. And then this idea of passions getting out of hand, I will persist. I think that that is a reference to women, and she persisted. I think that was Mitch McConnell. So I think that that's the rally cry, that the women are not going to give up. They're going to keep knocking at the door. I both fear and adore this person's dominance and power. Tyranny. I think this has something to do with the division of the Pennsylvania voters. There are people who admire Donald Trump for his perceived power and dominance, but at the same time, they're absolutely terrified of what that means for them, that they will lose their rights. Tyranny, they said, that there would be obstructions, delays, and setbacks. So Pennsylvania is going to go for the count. In the aftermath, they're going to count every single vote, just like before. It's probably going to be up for grabs, or they won't call it right away. But when they said overturn power to the people, it's like if they take something to court or whatever it is they're going to do, it's like it's overturned. The people are going to win. And I do get Pennsylvania turning blue. I saw Ben Franklin, and I know he was from Philadelphia, or he spent a lot of time in Philadelphia. And I saw him. And then I wrote, a person with few rights and little control can still achieve a new perspective. And then I got, someone gets a get out of jail free card, falling on the sword. It's the economy, stupid, haves and have nots. We want to share the resources. Scales will now be balanced. The well-being of others is important. And then I got the young come out. We have some common sense. We have been watching. We see how things work. Students, we must be responsible. Our actions will affect the next 7 generations. So this get out of free card, I don't know if there's some sort of revelation, probably of shenanigans. There might be someone who becomes a scapegoat, I think, in some shenanigan situation. I think Pennsylvania voters are voting more economically, where Florida, it was more about the weather and how that affected them. Texas, I got strongly, it was about women's rights, even more so than other states. I think the primary issue in Pennsylvania was more the economy and the fact that they don't want all the wealth to be accumulated by the billionaires and the corporate people. They want to share in the resources. I feel like this is a big union area, or I got organized labor type of situation. I think that's what they mean with sharing in the resources. And then the young people coming out, and more than other states, that they might be the ones to tip the scales in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I get Pennsylvania, after a long haul, turning blue. Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky. Are you kidding me? This was one of my surprise ones. I got Kentucky like on edge. I still get them on edge. I've done numerous readings on Kentucky. The soul writing session said they're at war. There is rebellion in the House. Could have something to do with the electoral votes. So there's something here where I think their House or legislators want to go in one direction, but that's not how it reflects with the votes. And there's some sort of rebellion or argument. Now, this is the weird part about Kentucky. When I did Kentucky, I'm like, oh, they're going to be red. I think of them as red because of Mitch McConnell. But in fact, Kentucky has a Democratic governor. So there are pockets of blue, maybe more than we think, because I got this right on the edge, the sense that we are fighting the people in power. Unfortunately, I used the dowsing rods and I used the pendulum numerous times. And even though the cards were saying they were on edge, I have them leaning red. But there's hope in Kentucky. Okay, if you're out in Kentucky, go out there, knock on doors, make sure your neighbors are voting, get the messages out, get the young people out, because I only got them leaning red. So let's pray for Kentucky. Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin, I'm going to straight up say I know that other readers have predicted Wisconsin going blue. I got Wisconsin right on the edge in the cards. I've done this reading 2-3 times. I did a reading again today, and even though I feel like it's close, I'm getting it leaning red. I feel like the electoral votes are going to go to Donald Trump. I don't know if this is because of shenanigans. I'm not sure. but I've done it numerous times. I hope I'm wrong. Other readers have gotten the opposite. So let's go with what they have to say, but I have to say what I got. And I did get Wisconsin leaning red. Indiana. Yeah, Indiana. Again, I went into the reading thinking Indiana, Mike Pence, they're red. I didn't get that either. I got, again, a very close on the line kind of race. I did it again today, and I did get Indiana leaning red. So I'm going to call it as red for now. But there's something going on in Indiana where it's an actual race. I did look up some history. Did go red for Donald Trump, but I believe they went blue for Obama in the first election. So it is on the border. You got Michigan and Illinois. So I feel like Indiana has pockets of blue, and there's some internal struggles in Indiana as well. So if you're out there, have some hope, get to the polls, get your friends to vote blue. They're on the edge, but I am going to call it leaning red. Right now, I get a total of 328 electoral votes for Kamala Harris, and I get 210 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Right now, I get Harris winning by 118 electoral votes. I think this is a pretty substantial or statistical win. We'll see what happens. I am placing the map here. You will see the light blue as states that I do feel are on the edge, but I feel will turn blue. And I'm putting in pink the states that are also on edge, but I feel will turn red. This is one of those things, I think there's free will involved. So especially with those states, that's what the reading was by today. I've been working on this all week. Some things have changed, and I bet some things will change in the weeks coming up to the election. But I'm going to call it now for purposes of this reading. These are my state predictions, and we'll compare the map at the end, and we'll see how close I get. And that's my reading, red or blue. You got to go out there and you got to vote, vote, vote. It's time, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with all of your friends. As always, it's a pleasure reading for you. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.